Well, Ari, it really isn't a dark day. And we're going to look at this from a different angle. And that angle will be from the opposite end of the spectrum, the side with the extraordinary minds, unique abilities, and multifaceted learning styles. Well, over on your side, we're disabled. And on your side, you're the flip side of the chart. And on the flip side, this is the normal behavior. Now, my question in life was, what really is normal behavior? Because that activity that went on in the Supreme Court, that was not normal. Not normal at all, Ari. Here, Jack Smith is trying to defend our nation from having Captain Killjoy take us out the box, and the Supreme Court totally missed the core crux of his case, of this case. No, they overlook license to kill, and they encourage murder, treason, sedition, fraud. Let me stop it right there with fraud. Okay, I'm glad that what's his name or the predecessor is not in Vietnam, because the biggest real estate case, the young lady who is on trial for fraud in Vietnam, is going to be put to death. That's what, for fraud. They say we're not wasting our tax dollars. We're not wasting our time. You don't play us like that. Trung Ni Lam. Now that's a sister that's having a bad day because she committed fraud. Well, I don't know if the predecessor has done that. It'll probably all come out in the wash. But I'm just saying, these people are not playing around in their countries. And maybe that's why we have the crimes that we have. Because some of this needs to be decided quickly. Once we get that information, as Liz Cheney say, let's go. You've had all this information. What's the problem? And the problem is the men in black who have basically said, now not everybody on the Supreme Court. What are the other three?
It was Jackson,
Jackson, Sotomayor,
Kagan.
and Kagan. Now they're doing everything they can to override the flying monkeys of the predecessor. And they don't look good at all. I can't believe that maybe they think we're stupid. Even on the opposite end of the spectrum, we're looking at this as, hold up. See, you're the same guys who provided for our end of the spectrum certain rights. Even if our brain couldn't determine what was right and wrong, you put in safeguards and procedures. But there was a process. And in that process, what happened was that if your behaviors was intentional, say you had ADHD and you went out and you did something wrong with intent, okay? Then you're out of that school, you're gonna be tried, of whatever the consequences of what you did, it will be handed down, okay? But say if you had a neurological behavior and you didn't quite understand right and wrong, and what happens after that is your brain is saying, I'm not sure what's going on. I didn't have anybody talking me through this process. My behavior is manifesting. I made a decision and it came out wrong, but even though it came out wrong, I didn't know the difference between right and wrong. My behavior was unintentional. Now, what the Supreme Court is sitting up there telling us today, that we're going to let Captain Killjoy do whatever he wants, even though he's wrong. He has no immunity? Well, I don't understand. You provided safeguards and procedures on the opposite end of the spectrum So are you trying to say that these safeguards and procedures will be wiped out on the basis of your ruling? Now, I don't want to be like, what's Trump's lawyer's name? Todd Blanche. I don't want to be caught off guard because I've had some wonderful mentors too. Ari's one of them. I just adore Ari, and I didn't want to see him to be upset like that because I thought maybe I better hop on and defend the side that we're on because we didn't have normal behaviors anyway. But I thought that maybe I'll make it unprecedented for the people that they think is crazy. Maybe I think I'll hop on and say, you know what? Since the normal side can't understand how this is affecting our rights, maybe the opposite end of the spectrum needs to hop on and give some case laws, okay? Now, unanimous decisions were made by the courts for people that even if they had challenges and whatever that was decided with their challenges, they still had the right to be educated. And even if they acted out and their behaviors was unintentional, they would go before the great tribunal and it would be decided in a manifestation hearing saying that this person didn't know right from wrong. But you got a person up there that knew right from wrong. And now these same judges that gave our side safeguards and procedures are now stripping all of that away and saying it's okay to go out and kill. You can have immunity. But maybe that's just only for the elite. Because he did say he would warehouse people. Now, right there, I didn't like that word warehouse. Because what I'm getting to is that for years, the people on the opposite end of the spectrum were warehoused. That's right. They found out that 80% of people that had disabilities, 1 out of 8 people, children, whatever, was warehoused. That's right. Wouldn't furnish a decent education. We don't have to be bothered with them. Hell, they over there on the opposite end of the spectrum. Let them go. We just want them out of our district. We're going to make these unilateral decisions, and we're going to get their butt out of here. And once we get them out of here, we're going to, put them in separate self-contained schools. That's right. Away from the normal behaviors. Now, kids grow up. And now these kids are adults. Supreme Court people, attorneys, rich man, poor man, baker man, thieves, whatever. And you call this behavior normal? Nah. We're going to take it, like I say, from a different viewpoint. That viewpoint being that once a person acts out on the extraordinary unique ability side, the side that you call disabled, and that you don't care nothing about, and that you strip all their rights away, then because their brain is not functioning at an optimum level, not even maybe at the normal level, or it may function below the level, then we're going to provide them with something. And I said that was the safeguard procedure. So what was provided? And like I said, I don't want to end up like Todd Blanche. Because I got people that, saying, I thought you was paying attention. And I am paying attention. So I'm going to give you some case law. Case law under Hanif v. Doe. They laid the groundwork for disciplinary actions in 1988, California law, all right, for students with disabilities to have the right to be educated even if they had challenges, okay? But those challenges was going to come under scrutiny. Now, that scrutiny was going to be right and wrong because if their actions are so bad, maybe we can't educate them with the so-called normal behaviors. So coming down the road, we're going to get to that. They might have to be excluded. But this was an inclusionary factor that just because they have challenges, just because there's things wrong, they still can be included. Now, if you're going to include Captain Killjoy, that said he's going to warehouse people, that it's okay to kill, what's it,
Kill his political opponents.
kill his political opponents, and you're going to rock with that today? Really? Something is seriously wrong with the normal side and the people that brought these case laws that said that kids on the opposite end of the spectrum could have a free and appropriate education, that we're not going to have people making unilateral decisions on their lives because they have challenges. What we're going to do is we're going to provide them with something. We're going to even provide them with a due process. These students will have the rights under Hanib Vido, okay? They would have the right, if something goes wrong, and if we can't decide today, then they're going to stay put in their educational setting until something is decided. Now, let me say something. The number came up 10. Now, Judge Mashan, he works with this type of court, this court law, these case laws. Now, when I heard the number 10, I thought about a 10-day suspension. Now, under these laws, a 10-day suspension does not give the district the right to remove a child out of his placements, listen to what I'm saying, because he's acted out, because they want him to stay put, stay where he at, till we can decide whether this behavior was manifested and he didn't know what he was doing, right and wrong. Well, we're going to figure it out. But in the meantime, we're going to keep him where he's at. We're not going to disrupt his education. We want things to carry on. But you got some district that's so determined that, no, we're going to go get temporary restraining orders. We're going to get this kid out of here no matter what happened. He got to go. We don't want him here. We ain't going to we need some plop, fizz. We need some injunctive relief. That's what that unilateral decision was. And that's why all those kids got screwed, because you had people like the men in black that's making these decisions now that said it's okay to be Captain Kill. We don't care if the behavior manifests it. The whole world knows that you have no integrity, no morals. But it's fine. These are the same people that gave the kids on the opposite end of the spectrum that grew up safeguards and procedures. Now you're trying to turn around and say, oh, well, those safeguards and procedures we can throw them out the window. You can go kill anybody you want to. You tell that to the parents that lost their kids in all these acts of gun violence in school. You tell these to this parent that you're putting a man in office that know he has wrong behavior, that somebody with wrong behavior out there can have an act, go into a school, and it's okay with you guys? Really? Is that what you're saying? Okay. I will move from Hanig v. Doe. IDEA remain, as I say, they had to stay put in their current position, and that's when I thought about that 10, that Mashan might be saying, I'm trying to go beyond everything. I'm trying to do everything I can. Even though if I be criticized, my daughters be harassed, I'm going beyond, as they say. We've done everything we possibly can do for Trump. And now we got to warehouse him. because his behavior is intentional and he got to go. He got to go. So maybe that's why he didn't give that decision, because he didn't want him to be excluded. He was trying to include him, let him hear his trial, but since he got such intentional behaviors, his butt needs to be warehoused. So he can't stay put. You might have to exclude him, Mashawn. The next case, so once again, Hanig V. Doe laid the groundwork for people, children, to be have a fair and appropriate education, regardless of their mental capacity, their challenges, and even if something went wrong, then they still had rights, and the Supreme Court bestowed those rights upon them. Now they trying to strip them away from the normal side. Okay. Also, the children with under the IDEA, individuals with disabilities under the Individuals with Disabilities Educational Act, like I said, could be educated also. Also, it laid the roadmap or design that was for IEPs. Now, that's the next one that laid the roadmap. That was the Board of Education, Hendricks Hudson Central School, District v. Raleigh, 1982. The courts ruled, the Supreme Court, the same court that's up there taking our safeguards and procedures away, the normal side, okay? Taking these safeguards and procedures away, laid this case here was the roadmap for to enable children to receive an education with benefits. Okay, so the Supreme Court, in other words, are taking away all the benefits. You ain't got no benefits. You ain't got no rights. Captain Killjoy could come in and do whatever he wants and kill you. So if somebody with Captain Killjoy's mentality can run a nation that does not have the ability, the integrity to run a nation, and it's okay with the Supreme Court, then whatever you decide, we're looking at you that you become him. That's right. What you decide, you will become the predecessor. Absolutely. The next one was Andre F.V. Douglas County School, District 2017, made it clarified that the Supreme Court said that in this case, Raleigh requires schools to provide students with disabilities a reasonable education to make sure that they make some sort of progress under their disability. All right? So this is the Supreme Court's ruling. And now I guess all of this has to be chucked back and say, nope, we're going to give it to the wrong side. We don't care about whether or not your brain can do it, function to the capacity that you can make appropriate decisions and know right from wrong. We're going to give it to the intentional behaviors, and we're happy with that. Then the next case was Burlington v. Department of Education, established principles that the parents believed that if their child's IEP didn't function, which was the roadmap to help a child to design his education, was inadequate, they had the right to place the child in a private school. And so if the school messed up the education, they also had the right to be reimbursed. Okay? So that's under another case law ruling. Schaefer v. Weiss, 2005, Supreme Court ruled the burden of proof of IDEA administrative hearing rests on the party of relief, which is normally the parent, okay? Which is, it was the legal landscape case that ruled by the Supreme Court, surrounding that the education of children with disabilities in the United States under IDEA, the Disabilities Act. That was I can't believe it. The Supreme Court said that this is the relief that we're going to give you. This is a landscape. This is their decision. This is their decision. Schaefer v. West, 2005. Burden of proof, what? That's their ruling. All right, then you got Forest Grove School District v. Versus TA, 2009. Parents could be reimbursed. Remember that one I said before? If you mess up the kid's education and the parents got to pay for it, then guess what? They can be reimbursed for private school tuition if their child did not receive the fair and appropriate education under the public district. You failed the child, so you got to pay. They had to go over there and put their kid in a school because you couldn't initially, the schools couldn't give that child a fair and appropriate education. The parents shouldn't have had to pay for that. You screwed it up. Cecil Rapids Community School District v. Garrett F. That has nothing to do with me. I don't know who that Garrett is, but this was in 1999. The Supreme Court, the Supreme Court, held that schools must provide medical services that are necessary for a child with a disability to receive a free and appropriate public education, even if the services are not strictly based on the educational nature of the child that's in school. Regardless, you had to provide these provisions under the Supreme Court ruling of Cedar Rapids Community School District v. Garrett F. 1999. Now see, the Supreme Court ruled all of this. And these were people with challenges. All right? Now, even if you had challenges, let me go back. You could have had challenges, but it was determined through that manifestation hearing whether if that child understood what was right and what was wrong. Now, once we get to that hearing, and if it was decided that he did understand what was wrong, then he's going to be out of there. He's going to be suspended. He's going to be gone. But if they had a disability if they were disabled to the point, and I don't like that word, disabled to the point that they didn't understand right and wrong, then the manifestation hearing, what had to be decided after that was, okay, their behavior wasn't intentional, and their behavior manifested to a degree that they acted out. Okay, now we got to come in and decide whether if we can include that person in the educational system, because we might not be able to. But also there was a ruling that if we can't possibly afford that child an education because his disability is so out of sync, we might have to pay for that too. And that's what the district was fighting. They were fighting that we don't want to pay for this. We don't want to pay. We want them out of here. We don't want to be caught up in compensatory actions that's harm to the person. We don't want that. Now, Florence County School District 4 v. Carter, 1993. The Supreme Court ruled that schools may be required to provide compensatory education to make up for past deficiencies in services to the child with disabilities. Compensatory damages That means that this is not for punishment. This is for financial awards that a court orders to be paid in a civil lawsuit. Civil lawsuit for losses of injuries suffered as a result of the defendant's wrongful conduct, loss of life, okay, loss of enjoyment to life. Now, I think these were the non-economical that was paid to people with the losses. The economical damages may include medical expenses, loss of wages, financial losses. And all of this was done that if you were damaged, then basically they was trying to make you whole again. But really you can't put a price on a person's life, and it wasn't going to make you whole again. So it's not enough money in the world to compensate for that loss. Now the purpose is you shell if the shell is cracked like Humpty Dumpty, it's no way to put the person back together again. Now, the calculation based on the actual financial incurred in medical bills, repairs, loss of income, non-economics, is your life. Hard to put a price on, like I said. When you stop living, hard to put that back together. The limits of caps may vary on the amount of compensatory damages, such as medical, malpractice, or personal injury. Limited varied by judicial claim. Compensatory damages focuses on losses that, not punishment, losses that redress the individual who suffered due to wrongful actions of others. And punitive damages is the punishment. And they punish your butt and make you pay. And they hope like hell you don't do this again. Now, that's what you've seen with E.G. Carroll. You saw her win her case on, I think, both counts. Here she is at this age. It's going to be hard for her to put her life back together again. And far as the predecessor who's done this act, ain't no way in the world he's not going to do this act again. And as you see it playing out in court today, that he has intentional behaviors, he has intentional behaviors. And the bottom line, even with these intentional behaviors, he's not going to be able to correct his behavior. But what Mashawn is trying to do is, before everybody lose their mind, okay, even he's rocking the list. This is unprecedented. We ain't never had a case like this before. And we to make sure that we don't cross the line, we want to even he have rights. He's we want to exclude him. I'm going to do everything in my power to say that we went as far as we could go. Now he has to be excluded. And that's kind of like Jack Smith saying, you going to give this person immunity that's up here and it's wrong? Well, if it's wrong at the level of a child being at the level, because like I said, kids grow up. And if it's wrong and a child can be prosecuted, held as an adult, that's wrong, and the behavior was intentional, then this is a grown man, not a man like hallelujah. Don't scratch this, as man, because I'm way far into the video, so I hope that ass is allowed, okay? This man is grown, and his behavior has been done over and over and over again, intentionally. Now, we cannot let the intentional, wrongful behavior, I'm going to say it again, wrongful behavior play out at the Supreme Court level, who has his people in place that knows, that has totally ignored the core crux of the problem, and also are the same people that said, we're going to give you safeguards and procedures over here for behaviors that possibly may not be wrong and have to be reviewed. And we have to decide whether we can include them in an educational setting and let them, not just sit in a room and be excluded because of what they have. But now what the Supreme Court is saying, that you can be wrong. You can be Captain Murderbutt. And we're going to put you in a position where you can do whatever you want to. Forget about right and wrong now. You could just be wrong. You can be wrong. It don't make sense. And that's why I read this off, because it's a lot of parents that don't know this. And they're switching, they're making everything unprecedented. This is crazy. This is totally crazy. The whole thing was, on the opposite end, was to provide safeguards and procedures for people, that it had to be decided whether your actions were right or wrong. And now the Supreme Court is going back on their word and saying that we don't give a damn. You can be wrong. You can be totally wrong. You can murder. You can set up a coup. You can do anything you want. And as far as we're concerned, it's okay with us. It is okay with us. Now that's crazy. Same Supreme Court that said we got safeguards and procedures. So basically, they've taken all your rights from the opposite end of the spectrum to the flip side of the chart. You no longer have safeguards. You no longer is going to have the procedure to even probably have a trial. Because now you're going to have that trial stripped away and you're going to have a dictatorship. See, I wanted to give, you're over there on the normal side, which don't look so normal. Maybe you need to see it from the point of view from the disability side. Now, the disability side say, we worked hard to get these rights. There's another case. I'm going to call Light v. Parkway. Now, the reason why I don't like that case is because sometimes there's a plot, there's a scheme, there's something to hide. And the district will say, we bent over backwards. We did everything that we could do to educate this child, when knowing damn well they didn't. They didn't honor the IEPs, because you know what? Most of the time the IEPs cannot be worked by the teachers because they don't have the educational knowledge to go in and help the child, because a lot of the children that have these disabilities have Asperger, autism, pervasive developmental delays. They have certain nonverbal learning disability. They have certain disabilities that these teachers aren't trained in that. And they're not going to bring anybody in to have them trained, because their basic thing is, if you got this, you're on your own, Charlie. We want you out our district. And another thing, which is a total setup, they always had a one-size-fit-all education. Now, I know it seems like I'm going off today, but our rights are at stake. That's right. They're taking our safeguards and procedures on both ends of the spectrum. And if anybody is not paying attention to this, you lost your mind. These are the same judges that said that the people on the opposite end have safeguard procedures, and you're going to go over there on the normal side and say, no, You ain't got none. We taking all your safeguards and procedures. So you know if you ain't got none, we ain't gonna have none. It's gonna go dark over here. And I don't want it. I don't want democracy to be dark. I don't want it to go dark, Ari. I understand. I've written for years. For years. This didn't just start with me. This wasn't about clicks and views. I didn't care about that. Here's the opportunity to say to everybody that if the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court that said that this man, what's his name? The predecessor, can be the president of the United States. Well, Captain Dictatorship. Then these are the same people that everything that I quoted today goes down the tube. Everything will be destroyed because he said he was going to cage everybody. That's what he said. And more. So all of us will be caged. You got one picture. That one picture on that side says the normal side. And now y'all realize that ain't so normal no more. But you got me sitting here saying, hey, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. And from where I'm sitting, that looks crazy. Because they provided. These are the people that said have case law. And like I said, that one case law, Light v. Parkway, I don't like that because that's the law that they hang parents on and say they went the butt naked mile when they only had one size fit all education. I looked at Midas Touch. This man said he's a visual learner. They never taught any of these kids how to learn, how to be successful. They didn't teach tactile kinesthetic. They didn't teach auditory verbal, which is voir dire. They didn't teach that. They didn't say this is interpersonal. They didn't say this was mathematical. They didn't teach by those skills. They didn't teach that. They had a one-size-fit-all. You went in, you did it their way, and it set you up for failure. Now, before I close out, I got some people I want to say. Liz Cheney, thank you for giving it one hell of a fight. I appreciate it. I want to say, Jack Smith, do your thing, because you got somebody out here that knows both sides of the spectrum, not just the one side, but both sides. And I know how you can be screwed on the disability side. Look into the camera. But that lesson was a life lesson that was well learned. Sometimes you take a big loss because you know what happens down the road? Something else comes up. And it just came up. And even though Captain Killjoy over there, Mashawn knows something, he rocking the list, that something is wrong, and all this is unprecedented, well, let's make this double unprecedented. That's right. Let's make it double unprecedented. Because these are the same guys in black that provided safeguards and procedures and now saying we can't have them no more because they want their man of the hour in that can't even take charge of his life, let alone have the lives of our country in his hands. And when they make their decision, they're going to let you know, they already let you know, whose side they was on. They were put in place for him, not for the people. They totally ignored what happened today because they went rogue. And they are Machiavellians. Machiavellian narcissists. That's what they are. They have their own agenda. It's a difference than 44 if you take out somebody May Day because they're a threat to the country. It's a difference. But you don't go rogue on us and put a person in power that has no power over his own brain. What the hell? What are you guys thinking about? And you think that we have respect for the men in black For years, I've told my kids, I wanted them to be president. I ain't telling them that it no more. For years, I've told my kids I wanted them to, rise to the Supreme Court level. I'm not telling them that it no more. With the exception of those three judges, what was their name?
It was Jackson,
Kagan, and Sotomayor. They didn't work this hard to be up here with these scumbags. They didn't work this hard to be sitting next to a man that never had our interests at heart, and he's trying to protect his wife. All the information that's coming out now on this man's trial, they don't mind being connected to him. Who can catch and kill their crap? This is unbelievable. Now I know I'm like Ari today. I went over. Yeah, I went over. Because like I say, our rights are at stake. And if the normal side, if it's going down on the normal side like this, and they showed everything, they know that this is wrong. They know it's wrong. Then we're totally in the dark over here. We're totally in the dark. Unprecedented that. Maybe you didn't think you had a parent out there that would understand. But I made sure that even if I took a loss, that I was going to do everything in my power to come back. Even if it was decided that I had breast cancer, I was going to do everything in my power to come back on this one. Sometimes some people don't know what their purpose is. They don't know who to turn to. But you would always hear me say, raison d'etre. That means I exist for a reason and a purpose. And in this reason and a purpose in this time, my child may have lost. But there's a great gain to this. It was not just about his loss, because that would be selfish of me. As Lewis Howes would say, you don't want to have a bunch of information and take it to your grave. That closes down your library. That's right, Lewis. I don't want my library closed down. And I got a lot of information up here. A lot. And I'm trying to keep the flames burning. And people like Jack Smith, Liz Cheney, Ari, O'Donnell, my friend with the yellow pen, and now I have her yellow paper, Mika, and her husband, Scarborough Joe. You know, you all have been real human beings. You have been real human beings. And I want to thank each and every one of you, because I just want you to know that I did pay attention and that I have been waiting on this. And something else I want to tell you before I get off of here. My brother said I would know the time, the right time to say this to the world. He took a loss, and he lost his son. And he said sometimes our behavior dictate whose life that will be still on this earth. He said my behavior didn't dictate that because it cost my son his life. If you live through whatever you have, and if you know that a behavior may dictate the loss of many lives, you fight hard as hell. But for a person like me, whose life I cost, I need to pay the ultimate consequences. Do not defend me. And I said to him, everybody has a right to due process. He said, I understand. But there are certain decisions, just like a coup, that you make, that maybe that person's life wasn't that valuable, that person's life was dangerous to the country. Just like my brother said his life was dangerous to his child, and his child lost his life because of it. Now, my family didn't want to talk about it. I'm good with that. But I'm cool on this end that I can open up about it, because that decision can cost a lot of people's lives. And like my brother said, I should have been taken out because I don't bring no value to this country. I don't bring no value. And if you try to defend me for my actions, then you are no better than me. Even though I have the title of your brother, you peel back that hole, and once you peel back that hole, two things can happen. I'm either good to go to eat, or I'm too damn ripe and I need to be thrown away. He said, you'll know the time. And that time has came. And that time is now. And those are my oral arguments for today. That's right. And the Supreme Court, you have done everything to move us so far back in time. You've done everything to show us how rotten you have become. You've done everything to back a man that you know is not capable of running this country. You stripped Arizona rights, and you're sitting there waiting to strip all our rights. Is this what it comes to? Well, Ari, I'm going to keep fighting. You will hear my voice again. And I went over, and I hope that, YouTube have a specialty of people clicking on and off their videos when they don't like you. But I hope, and I'll tell the damn algorithm, send this one to the algorithm. I'm not about clicks and views, but I do want people to view this particular one today, because this is about our rights. This is about our life. We're so hung up on money that, just like Ari said, the major case is overlooked. You place money over your life. If you got money and you ain't got no rights, what good is your money? What good is it? And you have no rights. What good is the Supreme Court justices when they granted rulings like this? Rulings that we have safeguards and procedures for kids that grow up. We have safeguards and procedures. Well, even in the school district, they cut off at 16 years of age, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, these kids do grow up. And if they come to a trial, which a lot of attorneys don't realize, what happens? They're warehoused. That's right, they're warehoused. But Trump knew. He knew. You heard Pecker say that he knew. He micromanaged everything. As he said, I alone can do it. I don't need Putin. I don't need Kim Jong-un. What's the other guy's name, Woody?
Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel.
I don't need Benjamin Netanyahu, because I got, just like it came about with, he had certain people in his pocket. Now we know what justices he has in his pocket, and we understand what they trying to hide and protect. And like I said, to the parents, if you run across Light V Parkway, that one right there, that particular case may not be in the favor or the interest of the parent, because they didn't bend over backwards. They didn't do everything that they said they were supposed to do, because we were set up on the educational side long time ago. Because I'm going to close it out on this note. On the disability side, you are unable to be disabled in a zero tolerance zone. And on that note, I'm out.